Hey everyone, welcome. Sometimes the simplest stories have the biggest lessons, and today we're diving into one of those. It's all about finding real purpose and value in the things we see as our flaws, our imperfections. So let's start with a big question, one that's really at the heart of this whole thing. Can an imperfection, a flaw, actually be a gift? Maybe even a gift in disguise? It's a powerful idea, so let's dig in and find out. All right, so let's set the scene. Our story starts a long time ago with a really hardworking guy, an artisan named Bimaya. And every single day, he had this one job, carrying water to his landlord's house. To do this, he'd use two big pots, one on each end of a long log that he'd carry across his shoulders. Okay, so here's the thing. These two pots, they were total opposites. You had the perfect pot on one side. It delivered every single drop of water, every time, without fail. And yeah, it was pretty proud of itself, you could say. But then there was the other pot. This one had a crack in it. So by the time Bamaya got to the landlord's house, it was only ever half full. And because of that crack, it felt just terrible, a deep sense of shame. And you can imagine, right? This one little crack created such a huge emotional burden. Let's really get into that, the sheer weight of feeling imperfect and how it completely shaped the leaking pot's world. To make things even worse, every single day on that walk, the perfect pot would just taunt the other one. It would say these awful, cruel things, constantly reminding the leaking pot of its flaw. It was just this daily dose of belittling that hammered home that feeling of being useless. And this really gets to the core of the pot's struggle, doesn't it? I mean, it saw itself as a total failure. It was just miserable, thinking, I can only do half the job I'm supposed to do. It truly believed it was just a burden to its owner, Bimaya. Well, eventually, it all just became too much. The shame was unbearable. So, one day, the leaking pot finally spoke up to Bimaya. You can just imagine its voice, totally full of misery, as it pleaded with him, begging to be replaced, because, it felt it was completely useless with that crack. But here, this is where the story takes a really beautiful, unexpected turn. Bimaya, being this wise and kind owner, he totally understood the pot's pain. But instead of agreeing, he offered a completely different way of looking at the whole thing. And Bimaya's response, man, it challenges everything. Everything the pot believed, and probably everything we've assumed so far too. He basically asks this incredibly powerful question. What if that crack, that thing you see as a weakness, what if it wasn't a flaw at all? What if it was never a mistake to begin with? So with just this one simple, gentle instruction, everything starts to shift. He doesn't argue. He doesn't tell the pot it's wrong. He just says, hey, look down. Look at the path we walk on every single day. And the pot, now pretty curious, looks down and it sees this amazing, vibrant trail of beautiful flowers. But then Bimaya points out the most important detail. The flowers were only growing on the leaking pot side of the path. On the perfect pot side, nothing. And boom, there it is. The hidden purpose is revealed. The owner explains, oh, I've always known about your crack. And not only that, he had actually planted flower seeds on that side of the path on purpose. That leaking water, the source of all the shame, was the very thing that nourished those seeds. It's what allowed them to grow into these gorgeous flowers that he could then offer to God during his prayers. Okay, so let's bring this amazing lesson home, right? Because this story, it's not really just about two pots. It's about us. It's about learning to see the hidden gardens that our own flaws, our own cracks, might be watering without us even knowing it. And in that moment, for the very first time, the leaking pot got it. It finally understood its real value. It wasn't broken, it wasn't useless at all. That unique crack gave it a purpose that the perfect pot could never, ever have. It wasn't just a water carrier, it was a creator, a life giver, a creator of beauty. And what about the perfect pot? Well, when it heard all this, it was just filled with remorse for being so arrogant and cruel. It went straight to the leaking pot and apologized, saying, I am so sorry. It finally understood that what it saw as a weakness was actually a truly unique and beautiful strength. Then Bimaya, the wise owner, just ties it all together with one last piece of wisdom. He looks at both of them and says, you are both useful to me, especially when you are together. The perfect pot, it gets the job done, delivers the water. The leaking pot, it creates beauty along the journey. They both had a purpose, you see. And that really brings us to the whole point of this, doesn't it? The big takeaway? All those things we worry about, our own cracks and imperfections, the things we wish we could change, they might just be the very source of our most unique gifts to the world. They might be watering gardens that we can't even see yet. So I'm going to leave you with this one final thought to take with you. Have a real look at your own perceived flaws, your own cracks, and ask yourself, what unexpected garden are you watering? Thanks so much for joining me today.